It's time to open your mind and expand your empire. You're listening to The Ted Huff Show. Join in for stories that embrace imperfections and become the inspiration you need to achieve true greatness in your life through actionable progress in the pursuit of self-discovery, self-improvement, and self-purpose. Where will your story take you? Now let's get it started with the man himself, your host, Ted Huff.
All right, everybody, we've got Ryan Durden here with us today. Entrepreneur, author, 2 books, not just one, but 2 books.
In 1 year.
In 12 months.
12 months.
That's craziness. So, Ryan, what drove you to write the books? And let's kind of just talk about, the big question everybody wants to know is, who is the Ryan Durden?
Definitely, man. So I'll start off with the second question. Who is Ryan Durden first? First and foremost, I'm a father and a husband. So I'm a family guy first and foremost. That's my why. That's my reason for wanting to succeed. I wouldn't have it any other way. They're what keep me motivated every single day.
How did Ryan get to where he is today?
Well, I mean, growing up, I didn't have, the best childhood. I grew up in a separated home. My mom spent most of her time in Arizona, and my dad spent most of his time in San Diego. And, growing up, I was going back and forth from my mom's house to my dad's house, going back and forth from San Diego to Tucson, actually. And at age 6, my mom moved to San Diego, so we were all in the same town together. And at age 7, she actually decided to leave because it was too expensive in San Diego. And at that point in my life, I was only 7 years old. I knew the importance of money, of having money or not having money, and the outcome, of what it can do to a family who doesn't have money. So my mother was no longer really in the picture except for, weekend calls. At age 7, when my mom went back, it was just me and my dad, and we did, just me and him for, a year. And then he met my stepmom. And when he met my stepmom, they had a kid, which is my little sister. And she's actually an actress and a model. So if you don't follow her, you should follow her. It's Alexis Ryan. She lives in LA right now, pursuing her dreams. But when I was 10 years old, some of the things that make me who I am today, my mom, like I said, my mom used to always call on the weekends, and one weekend I didn't receive the call. Then another week went by. I didn't receive a call. Then another week went by. I didn't receive a call. So it was about 2 months. I didn't receive any calls from my mom. And I finally got a call from one of her sisters saying that she fell and hit her head on a fire hydrant. And, I'm a kid, I believe the story. And a month later, she actually woke up out of a coma. And they kept it from me for a while. But what ended up happening is her boyfriend shot her in the head due to it was drug related. So I guess it was cocaine or something that they were doing all night, and he got angry because my mom didn't go get some more cocaine and shot her in the head, and she was in a coma for 3 months. And when she woke up, she just wasn't the same person. But she's doing well now. So she's it took her 40 years, but she doesn't do any drugs. She doesn't smoke cigarettes. She doesn't drink beer. She doesn't do anything. She goes to her Bible study and goes to church. And it took her 40 years, but she's finally where she wants to be.
So with that kind of upbringing and those experiences, how did that shape Ryan and what Ryan was trying to do, and the type of experiences that you ended up having in your late teens? I mean, I know there's been a lot of things and a lot of things you've had to kind of go through to get to there.
Yeah. I think, in anybody's life, it's the things that happen to you that shape you. But it's more of react and how we, we react to the situation. And as a kid, as a teenager, we really don't know how to react. We we act off of our emotions, and sometimes we don't even know what we're doing and what we're involved in until we get older and we look back at it. So when I was 13 years old, I was walking to school, and I saw my dad's truck parked in a parking lot about a half a mile away from my school. And at the time, my dad worked in LA, so he was driving back and forth from LA to San Diego, usually spending the weekends in San Diego and working during the weekday. But for whatever reason, that day he wasn't in LA, and I saw his car parked across the street. And I walk over to his car and I say, I see him crying. And it was the first time that I ever seen my dad cry, and the last time that I've actually seen him cry. And he was just saying they killed him, they got him. So what happened was, I guess, a 16-year-old kid. It was over a cell phone, they said, but it was really about it was gang related. So I guess he got stabbed. I think it was like 16 times. Walked across the street and actually died in a foyer in an apartment. And that's where I saw my dad was in the parking lot of that apartment. And so that day I actually went back to school. And when I went back to school, there was this kid, and he was saying, my uncle died. And I was like, your uncle died too? And then he was like, yeah, he got stabbed right down the street. So when he said that, like, I lifted him off the table. Like, I didn't ask any question. I lifted him off the table, or lifted him up and threw him on the table. And I just had so much rage. I didn't know the kid, and he was claiming that my uncle was his uncle. And then afterwards, he told me, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know. Like, he always came to my house. And I guess he was friends with his mom. But I was really an angry kid. Like 3 years before that, my mom gets shot in the head. 3 years after, my uncle gets stabbed, and I was just an angry kid. So my dad and my stepmom actually took me out of public school and enrolled me into private school when I was in 7th grade. And there I learned a little bit of discipline. And I actually, I'm not really a religious person, but I kind of found God, when I was in 7th grade, and kind of switched my life around from bad to good really early. But at the same time, those same ghosts came back to haunt me later on. So 14 and 15, I was good. I was a good athlete. I played basketball, football, ran track. But I went out one year on a vacation, and during that year, somebody that I looked up to gave me some drugs. And before that, I really didn't know, besides like weed, like I'd never seen any other drugs besides weed and alcohol. So this person gave me the drug, and I was hooked. And so from 18 to about 22 years old, I was hooked on this drug, and it pretty much took my life over. And I tried to kind of get my life back, and every time I tried, I kind of self-sabotaged myself and ended up right back in the same spot in jail or living on the streets or whatever it was. I just didn't have a why. I didn't have a reason. I didn't really care for myself like I should.
All right. So tough times coming up. So what is it that, what was the opportunity that you were given that really helped switch that around? What happened to switch? Obviously if there's a bit of understanding, if you read Ryan's book, which I suggest you do, the book Momentum, it gives a little bit more background that's in there, but you mentioned making this shift. Mm-hmm. So kind of help us understand where that shift comes from.
Yeah, so I ended up, like I said, on the streets or are in jail like every single time. So I did, a couple stints in jail, and every time I got out of jail, I became worse and worse. And it was finally just a breaking point where it's like, I just have to get away. What actually happened was the reason why I came out to Arizona was to get a fresh start, obviously, but there was a drug deal that actually went wrong, and I had to leave San Diego.
A little bit more detail that's not in the book. Love it, love it, love it.
So there was a drug deal that I helped set up, and my responsibility was to get somebody to drive a car from an Indian reservation back to my apartment with like 200 pounds of weed. And this guy that I hired to drive the truck ended up getting stopped, and we lost like 200 pounds. And so the big guy, I'm not going to name names and get people indicted, but came into my house and told me that he was going to murder me and everybody in the house. So we took off the next day and went to Arizona and with some friends. So it was me and two friends. We came out here and we kind of laid low for a little bit. And after a while, they actually went back to San Diego, and I stayed here because I actually enrolled into school for media arts. So I was trying to get my life together, and they kept on doing the same thing, and they went back to San Diego, and I haven't really talked to any of them since then.
Yeah, that's kind of a good reason to make a move.
Yeah.
Wow, that's heavy. That's heavy. So kind of going through, one of the things that I saw in the book that was kind of interesting to me is kind of what I would call your first real sale.
Yeah.
It was more of you kind of mentioned it, more of a job interview, but yeah. kind of give us a little bit of background on what it was like in that particular scenario where you're basically asked, "Hey, dude, sell me this watch."
Yeah.
So kind of give us some background on that.
So I remember it like it was yesterday. It was my first like real job interview. Like I worked for my grandpa in the past. I worked for my dad, and then I obviously, sold a couple of packs of drugs. But this was my first real sale. This was me going in and trying to convince somebody to buy something. Like I never watched like any sales movies. I did read Think and Grow Rich, so I had kind of an understanding on how people worked, but I didn't know anything. So I just BS'd my way through the whole entire thing, and the guy looked at me like I was crazy, and he offered me the position. And 4 months later, I ended up running my own little kiosk, and I got really good at it, and for 4 years I actually stuck in the cell phone industry, and I just it wasn't for me. I didn't see myself in malls and greeting people and annoying people all my life, but it was
so no kiosk king for you?
No kiosk king, no, because I actually had friends that stayed in it for like 10 years, and one of the guys that I know, he just got out of it, and he was pretty much been in the same position that he was always in. And if you don't, you got to know when to call it quits sometimes. And being a cell phone king was not my dream, so I had to give that up. And when I gave that up, I tried other things. I did like network marketing and things like that, but I actually started selling water door to door in Arizona.
So kind of like a sweatshop, huh?
Yeah. It was an easy sale because everybody needed water, and the deal was really good. It was like $30 a day for like unlimited bottles of water, like the 5-gallon jugs, and you got a free cooler and all that stuff. So it was a really good deal and a really easy sale. It was just a lot of work walking in 120 degrees, for 7 hours a day. And I didn't see myself doing that either. So I kind of left that alone and went out. I actually started my own production company for a while, which was black and white television or black and white entertainment, where I did a lot of live videos for rock bands and rap artists and things like that. I did music videos. And I was also a rapper for a little bit.
Oh.
So
no, we're gonna have to dig up some old mixtapes or something here somewhere.
I got a couple on YouTube, but you won't be able to find them. But yeah, so I mean, I dabbed in a couple of dibbled and dabbed in a couple of things, but I ended up going into the payments industry, and that's where I really found my niche. And I actually worked for a guy for like 4 years, and he laid us off. And in return, I actually started my own company. I took everybody from that company and all the good people and started my own. And that's how I actually got into business, was just taking a concept of that somebody else already created and just making it better and growing that.
Cool. So I'm going to go back a little bit in the timeline, because you left a little nugget. Mm-hmm. But so you'd mentioned your grandfather was a big influence in your life.
Oh yeah.
Mentioned he gave you Think and Grow Rich as a book.
Yeah. So
kind of help us understand. I mean, you talk about the bad things that happen, but I mean, obviously some things set you up to think differently. Kind of help us understand what life was like, before all the craziness started to kick off. I mean, obviously having a separate family that induces some bit of drama. Yeah.
So I'll tell you. So there's been a lot of good things that have happened to me in my life, and some of those things aren't things at all. They're people. And one of the biggest mentors that I had in my life was my grandfather, who, like Ted just said, he gave me my first copy of Think and Grow Rich.
Do you still have that book?
I still have it, yeah. I still have the same book.
Awesome.
It has all of his notes and highlights in it, too.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
That's one of the best gifts, when you get something from somebody who's read it and read it and read it,
yeah,
and it's got all their notes and all their thoughts in it.
Yeah.
That is one of the most awesome things to get.
It is. So I've been reading that, going back and forth, like just putting together my own idea of what success is from that book. But he's the one who introduced me to personal development, and that's where I see myself in the future is spreading the message of positivity and growth and just empowering other people. And he gave that to me, and it was a blessing. He was actually the third coach to coach in the NFL, third black coach to coach in the NFL. Not the third coach. He'd be really good.
I was going to say, so how old is your grandfather again?
So he's the third black coach to coach in the NFL. He coached for the Chargers for 17 years. So I think there's only one other coach that coached for the Chargers longer than him. So he is Mr. Charger. I wonder how he would feel about it being LA now. Well, he's from LA originally, so he really doesn't care, to be honest. Like,
well, it's a bit of a divide, right? Some are okay with it, others just think it's blasphemy.
Yeah, no, I think he's. I don't think he's really like a Chargers fan. I think he's just a fan of the game. Like, I don't think he has a favorite team.
So it sounds like football wasn't a game. It was a way of life.
It is, and it still is today. Like for me, for my son, for my dad, my grandpa. Like that's how we run our lives. Is I was a quarterback, so I run my team like I would on the field. Except for now, I get to call the plays instead of having somebody yell the plays at me all the time. So.
Well, that's good, man. So we've talked about being put in situations where you had to make some changes. Out of everything that's been going on and the different things you've had to overcome and push through, what would you say is that biggest failure that you've run into, and how did having that failure happen? Mm-hmm. And I want to get specific. What is that failure point that happened, and how did that set you up for the success going forward?
Yeah, so my biggest failure, I think, is my my addiction. Like I have an addictive personality, and I got that from, I got that from my mom and my dad. It's just my genes, not saying that my mom and dad are addicts or anything like that, but that's just the way that I was made. Growing up, I alcohol and drugs were always in my life. So, as much as I wanted to stay away from it, and I would tell myself I'm not gonna do drugs, I'm not gonna smoke, because of the way that the way that it affected my mother's life and the way that it affected my uncle's life. I wanted to stay away from the streets, and I wanted to stay away from drugs, but somehow, it was just all around me at all times. So I ended up getting into it. I ended up getting into drugs, and I ended up, getting into the street life. And it was my addiction that just brought me downhill, because, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop drinking. I couldn't stop doing drugs, and I just didn't want to be around people anymore, So I just kind of kept to myself, or kept with the bad crowd, because they can accept me for me being fucked up all the time. And the real people that loved me didn't want to see me like that. So I had to stay away, and it was
So what was that? What was that one? I mean, that, I guess that's where I'm trying to go. Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, addiction is nothing to take lightly, but there had to be some point. There had to be that one item, that one thing. You mentioned your family is your key piece, but
yeah.
At what point, and what was that thing that you're like, dude, I just can't do this anymore. I just can't do this anymore, that forced you to have more pain to keep doing that versus stop?
Well, I've been clean for going on almost 11 years now. So the thing that made me stop was definitely my son, like having him in my life. Like I remember the last time that I did drugs, my wife was actually pregnant with my son, that I actually did the drugs that I was addicted to. And I just remember like doing it, and I saw her pregnant, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I have to get my life together. I'm sitting in this corner with this person I don't even know, and my wife is sitting over there pregnant with my kid, and she's looking at me like I'm crazy because she never saw me do this before. So that was it for me. It was like, okay, like I got to stop doing this, and I need to start doing this. And that's where I made the switch to stop doing drugs, because the big guy that came in that scared for my life, scared the life out of me and made me run to Arizona. Like that wasn't enough. Going to jail and being locked down in a 2-man cell for 3 months with an hour of free time, that wasn't enough. But it was seeing my wife in the corner pregnant with my son that was like, that's enough. I can't do it anymore. So it's been almost 11 years since I touched that stuff.
Wow. Well, congratulations, man. I know from a number of folks that's hard to deal with, and it's hard to manage through. And congratulations for being sober for so long.
Yeah.
So obviously with an addictive personality, you have to have mechanisms or tactics or things like that that you employ when you start to feel overwhelmed, or when you start to get unfocused, or when you don't feel on top of the world.
Yeah.
What are some tactics or some key things that you do that the listeners and the viewers can take and do to stop that? Because we all have an addictive personality in some way, shape, or form. Just the things that we're addicted to are differently.
Yeah. And that's the answer to the question, is just find something good to get addicted to instead of something bad. that is like, it's all about your habits. So get addicted to working out. Like what I do is I like to write. So when I feel
that explains the 2 books in 1 year.
yeah. Like I just get it. Like I have to write. Like, If I don't write, I just feel like there's just something missing. Like if I go for like a month without writing anything down, like I just feel like somebody would that's a gym rat that doesn't go to the gym. Like it just doesn't feel right. So
would you say for you the thing when you start to feel overwhelmed and unfocused is really just to stop what you're doing and start writing down what's going through your head? Is that kind of what you're trying to say here?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, not what's going. Yeah, write everything down. I write everything down, as you can see. Like I have like a bunch of.
He's got like 6 note cards here, and I've got one page with like 4 lines on it.
So I just.
So I have a feeling I have a new hobby.
Yeah, and I mean, at writing, not only like it gets my mind off of things, like I can go back and recollect, like I can, resonate with myself, like, and that's one of the things in personal development is finding out who you really are, and by writing these 2 books, like I got to figure out who I really was and what makes me this way. And it's fear of failure is one of the reasons. Like I don't want to become like my mom on the streets. I don't want to become like my uncle on the streets. I don't want to become like my dad in the corporate world, who was fired numerous times and he didn't really have control over that. Like I want to have control over my life and how I live it. So I live life on my own terms, and it's just, and it's for my family.
So, talking about the writing things down, I mean, obviously that's a key tenet that's in Think and Grow Rich. So I can see how that kind of pulls over.
Yeah.
But in the last, say, 3 to 5 years, is there a core belief, a behavior, or a habit? I mean, outside of the writing, I mean, obviously it's a big one. Is there something that in the last 5 years that is, excuse me, has materially changed your life?
In the past 5 years.
In the past 3 to 5 years. The shorter the better, man.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's been a rough journey. So 4 years ago.
See, you caught me right in the middle there, man. All right, we're good.
4 years ago, we moved. My wife actually left me in San Diego and came back to Arizona and took the kids, the dog, everything because of my addiction. I started getting back into alcohol.
So with your move back out here, no drugs, no alcohol, none of that fun stuff. What was that core belief or habit that really changed for you in the last 5 years?
Well, once I stopped doing like heavy drugs and things like that, like I still drank alcohol. Occasionally, like on the weekends, I was considered what they call a weekend warrior.
Yes.
So,
I was a different kind. I did the whole Army Reserve National Guard thing, that kind of weekend warrior. So I have a feeling this one's slightly different.
Just a little bit. So Fridays, it would start Friday after work. I'd take my employees. We would go to the bar or brewery or something like that, and we would drink a lot, and then it just continued throughout the whole night on Friday. Wake up on Saturday, do my little chores, and then start drinking again while I was doing my chores on Saturday. Just get messed up until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Then on Sunday, just spend the whole day just trying to recover. And my wife got sick and tired of it, and she ended up leaving me, taking the kids, the dog, and left me with this big old house by myself.
Dog.
Yeah, took the dog, everything. She left me with all the material things. So I had the house, the cars, everything, that I bought materialistically, and none of that stuff mattered to me at that point because I had nobody to share it with. And this happened like 3 years ago, and that's when I actually started like really writing. And I started figuring out like what was it that made me drink so much. So I actually stopped drinking completely for 2 years while I was trying to gain the trust of my wife back. And what's changed for me is, one, I don't drink like that. So if I have a beer or two, that's it. I haven't been drunk in over 2-3 years, So I think my perspective on going out and having fun on the weekends has changed. Like it's not all about fun on the weekends or relaxation on the weekend. Like that's 48 hours of time and knowledge and money that I was passing up on before, not to mention my health, but in the last 5 years, I think my wife leaving me and giving me that wake up call, that that one last wake up call, hopefully, that it's that life is not for me. The alcohol and that type of life is not for me. Going out to the clubs and hanging out with friends and things like that, like that's not for me. I decided to be a family man, and I have to live by my choice of being a family man, and that means I have to sacrifice the things that I used to enjoy, that I shouldn't have enjoyed anyway, because it brought my life a lot of struggles, and but it made me who I am, and I wouldn't take it back.
So I'm gonna ask a slightly deep question, but do you know what it was that drove you to do those things? I mean, was it something that that you were trying? Were you trying to escape something? Were you trying to numb something? What was it that was driving you towards? I mean, obviously addiction's one thing, but
yeah.
There's always that catalyst, right? That starts it.
Yeah, I think it just, I wasn't sure of who I was completely.
Were you scared of who you might be?
Yeah, and no, like, yeah, I was scared that, I know my potential. I can use my potential for good, and I can use my potential for bad. And I know the potential that I have can have a major impact around people around me. And when I, do bad things, I can't have my kids seeing that stuff. So it's just trying to be a role model for them is key.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the beginning when we were talking about how your son being born was kind of that one thing that just kind of.
Yeah, for everybody it's different. Like everybody has their own why or their own reason of why they decide to make a change in their life. Like, and I think that everybody goes through adversity. Everybody goes through hard times. And not one person's hard time is more difficult than the other person's hard time. It's how we react to it and move forward and carry on. It's not what happened to us in the past, is how we go about it, and we have to just focus on the now instead of what happened.
No, understand, man. And not trying to take you back too far. Just want to help everybody get an understanding of who Ryan is and what Ryan pushes through. And, anything that you've gone through in the past always has this nice little way of creeping back up in the back of your mind, and knowing that it's never truly gone. It just subsides a little bit.
And that comes from every time I come back around. It comes from my core beliefs and my affirmations. Like, I wrote out my first set of affirmations when I was 15 years old. So every time I get back when I get off of track, I get back on track because I have my affirmations in place. I know where I want to go. So it's okay to get off track as long as you can find your way back onto the track and move on. But a lot of people, like, I've been blessed, that I'm still here. Like, a lot of people don't get a chance to do what I'm doing. Like, there's a lot of people that have gone to jail and they're serving life sentences, or there's a lot of people that, end up dying that don't get any chances, So I feel blessed, and I just don't want to waste any opportunity that this world's given me.
No, that's good. So I'm going to move us on here just a little bit. Try and get out of the deep. Yeah. So we talked about Think and Grow Rich earlier on. Obviously, you've got your 2 books, so these don't count. You can't count this here. But other than, obviously Think and Grow Rich had a great influence on your life. What other, 1 to 2 books had an influence on your life? Why? Kind of help us understand what items do you go back to, or which ones like really made a change in your mindset?
So I'll go with one old one and one newer one.
There we go.
So one of the old ones that I really enjoyed and I've read a couple of times is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And basically the whole concept of the book is just listen to other people and pay attention to what they're saying and be nice. And he goes into a lot more, but that's the basic principles. Like, people don't want to do business with people that are dicks,
Yeah.
So just being nice and listening to people and actually taking in what they say, instead of trying to come back and one up them, actually paying attention and making them elaborate more on what they were saying, so it seems like you're genuinely interested in that person and not that you're on your own agenda.
So have you seen that book to really influence you in the way that, obviously with your podcast, I'm assuming it influenced you there, but in your day-to-day business, I'm assuming that it really, and I'm assuming a lot here, obviously, but that it really shapes the way that you manage your customer service, the way you manage your business, the way you manage your employees. Yeah. So are you... That's kind of where you're taking that one.
Yeah, it's just treating people with respect. Like, a lot of people will say that you have to earn the respect, but that's not true. Like, you earn to lose the respect, if that makes sense. Like, you come off, like, I look at the good at every single person. Like, I see the good in every single person. Until you lose that trust, until you show me different, that you're not a good person, then, my heart's wide open. And that may be a flaw of mine, but as soon as you mess up, like, then my radar's on and I'm watching you like a hawk. But as long as you're keeping your word every single time and doing what you're supposed to be doing and not telling me something and then something else and then doing something else, then I trust you fully. But as soon as I lose that trust, it's really hard to gain it back.
Understood. All right, so you got the old one out of the way.
Yeah.
The oldie but a goodie.
It is an oldie but goodie. So check that out, Dale Carnegie. It's a great one.
Good deal. And so what's the new one? I'm really curious about this one.
The new one I really liked was Daymond John's Rise and Grind, where he goes into stories, other people's stories, which I like. I like the different variety of stories, and he goes. He finds celebrities and he goes through their daily routine, what they do in the morning to what they do at night, and how they don't waste time on things that aren't going to make them better. And I think, that's the whole entire message, throughout the whole entire book. But just the way that he, I think that it's really important that everybody has a set of routines that they follow. Because if you don't follow those routines, then you'll end up getting off track, and then you have to find your way back on track, like I was saying before.
All right, man. So before we get into pitching the 7 Major Keys book, because I think everybody needs to take a quick look at this because it's got some really, really good content into it. Yeah. But before we do that, let's leave these folks not with 7. But 2 key tactics that they can use every day to get them closer to that success. And you can cheat. You can cheat. You can name 2 out of the 7 from the book. Prefer you don't, but you can cheat if you have to.
So the major keys are awesome. Like, I wouldn't go a day without having the major keys. Like, it's subconsciously in my head, so everything, it's kind of like we were talking about the principles last time.
Ray Dalio in the principles book.
Yeah, so if it goes against your principles, you shouldn't do it. But let's see, 2 major keys that aren't major keys. I would say
I didn't say
they can be, but I don't want to cheat.
Let's just talk about it. And maybe we roll it back to like a tactic or a strategy that someone can use every day.
It's belief in yourself is one. So you have to believe in who you are. You have to, it's confidence. It's the first major key. It's confidence.
So how do you get, so what's the tactic or strategy to get that confidence?
Practice. Like, you're not going to be good at first. Like your first podcast, your first book, your first movie, your first time out on the football field, your first time up at bat, you're not going to be good at it. Like, you may have some natural talents, but you need a coach. You need somebody to expose those talents. So you need to practice, and that's the only way that you'll gain confidence.
All right, so we got one key strategy, tactic that people can start doing tomorrow, and that's practice on what it is that they're working on. Okay, so
practice.
So what do we got for number 2?
Number 2. Do you want me number 2? Like my most?
No.
Not number 2.
Yeah, I want them to actually read the book, not actually listen to it through the podcast.
Yeah, no, I'll give them the keys, but I'll give you the first and last one first. So the last one is key number 7 is priorities. So what's most important to you in your life? Like, you have to list out your goals, but your goals have to be prioritized, because a lot of us spend a lot of time.
So not everything's priority 1 is what you're telling me?
Right, exactly.
All right.
So you focus most of your time on the things that are most important to you. So like family, if family's most important to you, like, what are you doing in your time to make sure that your family doesn't go without? Or what are you doing in your time to make sure that they're getting all the attention that they need, so that they don't feel like they're going without with the material things and all that. So showing emotional and financial support. So prioritizing your day to the most important things to the least important things. And a lot of times what happens is when we prioritize and we write it out, we'll notice that the things that we're focusing on aren't helping us at all. So we can just throw that away. Like, why are you watching TV? Like, what is that doing for you?
You're hitting some people right square in the heart right there with that one, man.
Yeah, what is that doing? That's not doing anything for you. Like, watching Roseanne isn't going to help you.
All right. So we got here the 2 tactics people can take away is 1 is practice, so you can gain the confidence, so you can believe in yourself.
Yeah.
So practice. And the second one is prioritize. Not everything can be priority 1, so you got to prioritize.
That's it.
Yeah. All right.
That's the start and finish to the 7 major keys. So.
I knew you were gonna pull it back in. All right. So let's talk about the book. You know, we've been hinting at you had one book. We've been hinting at the new book this whole time. So let's just drop the bomb right now. Oh, see, I don't even have the button to push or anything like that. Got the beatbox across away here from me.
There we go.
So let's drop the bomb and let's tell everybody what the 7 major keys is about, who it's for, why they should get it, without reading it off the back of the book. So, come on, Ryan. Come on, man.
I'm looking at the back of the book. The 7 major keys. Everybody needs to implement them right now. Like, get your pen, get your paper, write these down, because you need these in your life. 7 major keys. 1 is confidence. You have to have confidence in yourself. You have to believe in yourself before you do anything. You have to have confidence in yourself to drive a car. You have to have confidence in yourself to walk out on the streets. You have to have confidence in yourself to go to college, leave your parents' house. You have to have confidence to achieve anything in life. So it all starts with confidence and the belief in yourself. The second key is the law of attraction. So thinking positive. If you train your mind to think positive, like, you're not always going to have positive thoughts in your mind, but if you can control your thoughts and find the positive situation in a negative situation, then you can control the outcome of your life. So thinking positive is important. And what the law of attraction is whatever you think is going to be in your existence. So if you think bad things, then bad things are going to pop up. If you think good things, then good things are going to pop up. So trying to stay positive. Number 3 is trust. So you need trust in your employees. You need trust in your employer. You need trust in your partners. You need trust in your relationships. Trust is key number 3. If you don't have trust, you don't have a sale. You don't have a business. You don't have anything. So trust is 3. Number 4 is my all-time favorite, and I think that you can.
So it's your favorite, but you made it number 4.
I made it number 4 because I like the number 4.
All right.
And number 4 is hustle. And a lot of people get the wrong impression when I say hustle because, at one point in my life I did sell drugs, but that's not what I mean by hustle. Hustle, when I think of hustle, I picture my coaches yelling at me, hustle, hustle, on the football field or on the basketball court or wherever. Like to hustle means to give it all that you got. And you can get by on just this key alone if you just put in the work and just hustle, 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 because everything else will fall in place if you just put in the work. So number 4 is hustle, or put in the work. Number 5 is communication, how we communicate with each other. So it's a little different nowadays than when I started selling. Like we have social media and things like that. So we have to keep up on our game with our social media, with the way we communicate with each other, because communication, all that is just just sharing information. So how we share information is number 5. Number 6 is no fear. So, or fear of rejection, no fear of rejection. So we have to know that for every success, there were 100 failures that happened before that success happened. So learning from our success, or learning from our failures so we can get to that success. And then just not being afraid of rejection, because everybody's going to be rejected. No matter what type of sales you're in, you're not going to get a yes every single time. And that no is just that one step closer to that yes. And the last but not least is one that we already covered, which is priorities. So just making sure that you have all of your goals written out and putting them in order from the most important to the least important, and then knocking off the most important tasks first and then focusing on the little task.
All right. So Ryan, appreciate you coming out. I mean, it was a short drive for you. I'm glad you're local to us here, but
yeah.
So let's help out people find you. Where are they going to find you on the socials? I mean,
so
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Where are you at, man?
Instagram, I am inspirational_Durden. Facebook, I am RD Durden. And Twitter, I am Ryan Durden. But you can find me on my website, and you can have all those links if you just go to ryandurden.com. It'll have a link to my podcast, my YouTube channel. So just go to ryandurden.com and you'll get hooked up.
All right, everybody. So we're going to go ahead and put links to everything that we just talked about today in the bottom of the show notes. Yep. So you'll have access to all of that fun stuff.
Ooh, one more thing. So with the 7 major keys, get your free copy. You can get a free copy of
free
99.
Free 99. All right.
So just go to the website ryandurden.com to get your free ebook. And the book itself, if you want to get a paperback, is only $5.
All right.
So,
and Amazon will get it to you in 2 days.
2 days. So buy 10 copies so you can hand them out to your friends.
All right. All right, everybody. We've had Ryan Durden, entrepreneur and author, here in the studio today. Super glad to have him. And thanks again, Ryan.
Thank you, man. It's been an honor and a privilege to be on your show, and I'm looking forward to doing more work with you. It's an awesome experience. Thank you for having me in your home today.
No problem.
That's it for this episode of The Ted Huff Show. But we know you're wondering where you go from here. TedHuff.com makes it easy for you to get notifications for new episodes, specialized contests, exclusive giveaways, and upcoming events simply by signing up for our mailing list. You'll get access to all this and more by visiting TedHuff.com. That's TEDDHUFF.com. Until next time, open your mind and expand your empire right here on The Ted Huff Show.